live. We got ourselves Joshua. Man, how you feeling, guy?
Doing good, bro.
Yes. You
Good
know
to
what I'm
see
saying?
you, man. Good to see you.
We're now back, so it's gonna be one of the best spiritual podcasts.
The best spiritual podcast.
The best spiritual podcast. Yes, there we go. So in this video, guys, we appreciate you guys for joining in. We got ourselves, really wise soul right here. He's a Pisces sun, real wise. You know what I'm saying? A lot of wisdom spiritually, into the occult, into the rituals, really tapped in spiritually. So we need people like him, because people like him has a lot of wisdom. Especially, he may not be an elder, but he has the soul of an elder. You already know Pisces is one of the ancient signs, the last sign, so they have a lot of wisdom, the most wisdom out of all the signs. So definitely a pleasure to be with you. How you feeling today, man?
I'm feeling good. How you feeling, brother?
Feeling good.
Sure.
Yeah. So one of the first topics I want to talk to you about is when it comes to tarot readers and spiritual people who do all these cards and pendulums,
Divination tools.
Divination tools.
Yeah.
If you be honest, you think this is like it works, or it's like a 50-50? Some people say it's entertainment. Some people say that it's like, what's the catch with that?
Well, when it comes to divination tools, honestly, it's not really the tool that creates the reading. And a lot of people think it's the tool that creates the reading. It's really your consciousness. You understand?
Yeah.
So that's why you see situations like people that never, ever read the definitions of tarot cards. The moment they first grab tarot cards or ever seen tarot cards, they could just read. Because the moment they ask they call on what they call on, invoke what they invoke, and they pull those cards, when they see the images, mentally, spiritually, they dive into these images and they get messages from these images on this individual's life. Now, with pendulums, the truth is, like divination tools that you can swing, the truth is our consciousness can control the outcome in the way it swings. That's the truth.
So you're saying they're not 100%.
There's not 100%. Not only that, certain divination tools that you can swing or hold in your hands and they supposedly move on their own. Sometimes people will ask the question and the divination tool will go back and forth or up and down. And they'll only give an answer when it swings to the part they wanted to swing to. So like they'll ask the question in the right amount of time. And then as it's swinging, the moment it hits yes, they'll be like, yes. Like they'll do it off rip automatically. So it could look, it's like they're manipulating the answer. You see what I'm saying?
So
but
it's like they're just trying to get confirmation for their ego.
It's not, it's a mix of both things.
Yeah.
It's a mix of both things. But the truth is, like, divination tools like that, we control them. Now, even in practices like Ifa, Palo Mayombe, when they use chamalongos, they use Obi, they use these different, I think they even have, in Ifa, they call it Ikin. You'll notice that certain priests can read better than other priests. Certain babalaos or certain santeros, certain paleros, even Vodouizan, they use cards in Voodoo. In Haiti and DR, they use, their divination tool is cards, or they'll use pyromancy through a candle. Or, the truth.
With pyromancy, that's like fire magic.
Pyromancy
fire
is
divination.
Yeah, divination through fire.
Okay.
But they also get possessed and do the reading too.
Okay.
But that's a different type of reading.
Yeah.
What was I going back to?
Pyromancy is real. I don't see that.
When it comes to cards, pyromancy is a little bit different, but when it comes to cards, when it comes to things like chamalongos, Ikin, Obi, stuff like that, you'll notice certain priests or certain people that do divination through these things, they can read better than others. Even though they all know the meanings of each outcome of which the divination tool comes out, certain ones have more spiritual insight. Why is that? Because at the end of the day, it comes from your consciousness. Even when the divination answers come out, it comes from consciousness first. And that's what people think. They think like, for example, like this is why situations happen where people go to the Babalao and the Ifa's talking about the future this or this, and then none of this stuff happens. They do all the sacrifices, all this, nothing happens. They'll go to the Santero, nothing happens. Even with the cards, or like even situations with the paleros, they'll do the chamalongos, and nothing happens because at the end of the day, the divination tool is not 100%. And I'm not saying that this happens for all babalaos or priests, paleros and stuff. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is there's situations where, you know, it doesn't go turn out, you know, a lot or according to what the divination was saying, because the tools are limited. At the end of the day, your consciousness has the answers, and when you're tapped in with consciousness, you can be able to give the right answers.
So what way would you recommend most
the best
people
divination
to do
is
divination?
pyromancy through a candle. There's some people that they don't even need that. They just need a listen, the people who are reading without like divining with a tool.
Okay.
People that read from their consciousness, or people
like
that
people who meditate and get the answers.
like, for example, there's people that can look at you and give you a full-blown reading. Nothing.
Just look at
There's
you.
people that can just simply smoke a cigar, a cigarette. There's people that might even smoke a blunt and read you. There's people that will light a candle and look into the flame and read everything about you. Now, that's, in my experience, that is the best forms of divination. Because a lot of times these people can tell you you're people that they don't know you from a can of paint, but they're telling you your dead ancestors' names. They're telling you people in your family's names. You don't even their age. They're telling you descriptions. You see what I'm saying?
This would be like the highest level of divination.
No, the highest level of divination. So there's two. The highest level is, I'm gonna get into that, but a level higher than what I just spoke on is getting possessed by the spirit. People call the spirit down and they get possessed by the spirit, and the spirit gives them answers. That's a higher level. But that also depends too, because that comes with a lot of things, because a lot of priests, they'll manipulate the spirit, and they'll have the spirit, they'll do things to manipulate what the spirit says to the person before the spirit comes on them. You know?
They'll train the spirit.
Not train, but they call their spirit before they get possessed, and they'll do things to manipulate everything. So when the spirit possesses them, the spirit's trying to take all their money. But the highest form of divination is a form of divination that they do this in the islands, they do this in Europe, they do this in Israel as well, very heavily, and in California. It's a form of divination where they do ritualistic practices and they open up portals spiritually, and the spirit appears in spiritual form and talks to you directly, or your dead ancestors will appear in spiritual form and talk to you directly. You'll see them spiritually form in front of your eyes. That's the highest level of divination. And that's not even really divination, honestly, like, because you're not really using a tool. You're talking to the spirit directly. Some people will say it is, some people say it's not divination, but that's the highest form of a reading that exists.
Yeah, that's some pure facts. Wow.
And even in Haiti, like the Asogwes in Haiti, you'll see this where they with a mirror and a table, they're able to pretty much call your ancestors through it. And when they call your ancestors through, you're gonna see your dead ancestor talking to you, sitting in front of you, right there, talking to you directly.
Yeah. So speaking of ancestors, a lot of people, you know, work with their ancestors to draw money. But I've heard some mentors say that you have to do it with good intent, because some people don't give a fuck about their ancestors. So they just, you know, just call into their ancestors and draw money, and the ancestors like, yo, you don't even like really F me. You just work with me just for money. And I know you're someone who says if you're going to work with your ancestors or any type of spiritual deity, to build an actual relationship with them, not just make it like a business. Like, hey, you know, draw me some money, and then, you know, you get on with your day and you just only comfort them for money.
You got something right here.
Oh.
But
Come off?
yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
People do that with their ancestors, with Orishas, Loas, different spirits from any background, tradition, or practice. There's people that they want to deal with spirits and entities for simply selfish purposes only. They don't want to build a relationship, truly connect, and respect the forces that they're calling upon. They don't care for it. They simply want to go to these entities for selfish means. And that can bite you in the ass in the long run. That can bite you. It can really destroy your life, make you die early, have the spirits you're calling on, even your ancestors turn against you and eventually destroy you.
Your
and
ancestors
sit you down.
Your ancestors, they can turn against you.
They can.
And
just like your families that's alive right now, they will turn against you.
Your ancestors can turn against you.
Exactly.
Especially if you do things that they don't agree with or they don't understand. Okay. So how do you not make your ancestors turn against you?
There's certain ways to go about serving them and working with them, and understanding the realm that they're in.
Okay.
That's the truth. You know, when you have certain secrets and certain knowledge, you can work with spiritual forces according to what you desire, or work with them to get what you desire or get help from them. But with them doing that work to manifest what you desire, they want things in return. Not only do they want things in return, there's a certain way to go about working with them to give them what they want in return.
Okay.
Because you could get into a situation where they're helping you, but you're giving them what they want every time they want it, whenever they want it. And now your ancestors or the spirits that you're working with in general, they start trying to run you over. And when you don't give them what they want when they want it, now they start messing your life up.
Yeah.
So there's certain sets of rules and regulations to follow and go about working with entities in general. You know, and certain people, they have secrets, and with those secrets, they can do more things than the average person. It's not just, you know, I mean, it is knowledge. It's knowledge, but it's not just magical or mystical knowledge. It's actual secrets.
Yeah. So we're talking on a magical level and on a magical level. Who I was gonna say, because you know, I heard Brother Yosef say this before. He said there's a magician path and there's a mystic path. Okay. The mystic doesn't need tools and the magician uses tools. But he said that the mystical path is harder because it takes more time. When in magic, you can just get what you want.
Off pure mysticism?
Yeah. Pure mysticism with no
pure
tools.
Mysticism is
like being in a cave or some shit. Like,
it's
being
involving raw. Honestly, it's just pure mentalism and mastering pure mentalism. And you got to understand, with mentalism, you can get lost. Even lucid dreaming or astral projection is a form of mentalism. You can get lost in that. Okay, let's say you're not doing that. Let's say you're just pure meditation. You can literally get lost. There's people that go into deep alpha states of meditation and they leave their body and die. This is not like fake, bro. Like, this is a real thing.
That's real, for real?
No, for real.
Damn. I mean, I do know that they say too much meditation makes people have like psychosis because, you know, you're not balancing out your spiritual and physical
energy. Give you a story. My cousin, he was meditating, but he was being extra. He was being extra. This is just one example. He was doing shrooms, my little cousin, and he was meditating on the shrooms in the dark. Fine, whatever. He gets into an alpha state, and you know how you're in the dark, but you can still kind of see stuff? When he gets into the alpha state, it's pitch blackness. All he can see is his body, but he's not in his body. Okay. That he was in the realm of pure consciousness. Yeah. And it was getting to the point where he could literally feel his soul leaving. Like, it was kind of like there was a cord between his body and his soul. He could feel it leaving. So he kind of had to like rush back and fight to get back in his body. Wow. That's how he felt. Yeah. There's a lot of stories about this where people literally meditate into deep alpha. You know what alpha alpha
it's a
state
deep
of
state.
meditation?
I used to meditate hours a day, so I've been to like the deepest states. And I know meditation is like...
You've been in an alpha state of meditation?
Yeah, I've been every state. Yeah.
Okay. And what's the farthest you've went with it?
I've been to points where I've been like, my soul was leaving my body. You know about, what's that dreaming? Sleep paralysis?
Yes.
So I've been to where sleep paralysis, you feel like that in meditation, where you literally like can't move your body.
And when people get in that state, it's a certain point where you're not aware, but then you become aware of it. If you like think about when you've been in sleep paralysis, there's a point where you're not aware, and then you realize, damn, I'm in a paralysis. Yeah. So listen, when people get in that realization point, they start to try to fight back to get back in their body.
So what does sleep paralysis symbolize? I heard people say it's when a demon sits on you.
That's a more of a mystic thing.
Mystic thing.
And that's ancient. That's
it just depends.
There's on the scientific level, they say that it's when certain chemicals in your brain secrete into your pineal, or into a certain point in your area of your brain, and then you get into this state. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Okay.
So it's different arguments, It's different ways to view it as well.
With meditation is powerful, but since it has no structure, you can get lost into it because
it's not about. It's more so. It's powerful. It's more so how much focus do you have? Because once you get into raw mysticism like that, you're not living in this reality where you're not dealing with what we deal with, bro.
So you're saying you're more open to spiritual psychosis, like get ungrounded, not being.
If you're trying to balance it with capitalism in this life we live in, but if you want to live in a cave,
meditation works.
You see what I'm saying? And and not the life that you physically wanted to live, you're not gonna be living that. You're gonna be gone.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? You will be on a whole other plane.
Right.
So, but there's people that do it.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people in the spiritual conscious community who meditate a lot, and they might meditate 3 hours a day, and they're like, F money, I don't need money. And then when they see a spiritual person get money, they get they're like, bro, what are you getting money for? You're stuck in the matrix, you didn't evolve. And it's a lot of
do those people use money?
Yeah.
Then they hypocrites. Yeah. They're hypocrites. End of the day, they're hypocrites. If they still use money to live, they can't get mad at someone trying to get a bunch of money to live how they want to live. Right. That's foolery.
Yeah.
Now, if they don't use money, then they could pop it.
They could talk shit.
They could talk crazy. Like, you ain't nothing.
Yeah.
You a sellout. Like, they could say whatever.
Yeah. Unless you live in a jungle, then you could talk la 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 la. But if you have to pay your bill like me, or like everybody else, and
if you're using a dollar bill, you can't talk now. You can't have that conversation. Don't matter what currency.
Hell yeah.
Like, even people think about financial freedom and freedom. You're not free when you're using a dollar bill. There's rules, regulations, and there's limitations and restrictions to using a dollar bill. That's not freedom. It's not. That's the truth.
When it comes to dreams, okay, do all dreams represent the subconscious mind, or you feel like dreams are just the future? Or it just depends? Because a lot of people get dreams, and they might keep seeing their man cheat. My man cheating, or then they subconsciously, maybe they're afraid, or they might see something they don't understand, because dreams is just so much, it's so confusing to understand dreams. Dream interpretation is like the whole topic.
It is.
Yeah.
Dream interpretation or understanding dreams is really like, each dream means something different. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Certain dreams are messages for what's going on currently, messages for the future or future events, or signs and omens of what's spiritually finna happen to you.
Yeah.
It's just diving into deep consciousness.
So it could represent fears too.
Say it again.
It could represent your fears too, right? You would agree?
It can represent a fear. It can't, but I wouldn't even. People think it's just simple. That's one way to look at it. But a dream that people would say is representing their fears are really messages of what they're not doing or what they are doing. For example, you might have a fear of this dragon. Yeah. And seeing dragons, like, you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Or the spirit of the dragon, whatever, spirit. Mm-hmm. Then this dragon shows up, and let's say for example, this dragon runs in your family or in your community or whatever. This dragon shows up in your dream and is almost like haunting you or about to come after you. But then you're in the dream going against it, rebuking it, whatever, to get it away, and then you wake up. People will be like, oh, that's that. Some people will say that's, showing that you have a fear of this. But the truth is that's just a message from this energy, from this spirit, which is a consciousness in the spiritual world, showing you something.
So it's like teaching you a lesson.
Showing you something. Like, for example, this is my energy. Look, this thing looks scary. If you were to see this in real life, this would look scary.
Yeah.
But what if that's not its intent? So in the dream, it's right in front of you looking crazy. So you feel energy that you're not used to. You're feeling something you're not used to, and you're rebuking it in the dream. But what if in the dream it's really trying to come to you and talk to you, help you? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's like a dream of the Grim Reaper. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna die. That's a universal force. Whether you want to call it Baon, whether you want to call it Santa Muerte, this, that, that's Osiris, that's a universal force. So when it shows up in your dream, of course the energy is going to be spooky. People would get scared of that because, oh my God, it's a spooky, scary energy, but that spirit is already, that's its energy it holds. You think it's supposed to hold peace and light? You see what I'm saying? So once you get familiar with that energy, now you can understand what you're experiencing and what it's trying to show you.
Yeah. How do you recommend people to deal with spiritual psychosis, spiritual people who can't ground their energy?
Spiritual people that can't ground their energy?
Yeah, people who got like always romanticize everything. They just in there like kind of delusional. People who take streams all the time, they're delusional. Like, just paranoid, always paranoid, scared. I see that a lot, especially people do shrooms.
They have not balanced spirituality and their physical.
Yeah.
They haven't balanced their spiritual life or their spiritual experience and their physical experience. They have not balanced both things together.
Yeah. You have any practices you
where
would recommend
one thing
them?
doesn't outweigh itself or each other.
Yeah. You have any practices you would recommend them?
To ground themselves?
Yeah, to go in nature.
Honestly, focus on what's right in front of you. That's one of the easiest ways to ground yourself before even looking in the sun and putting your feet to the ground. Focus on right here. Focus on it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Just be in the moment. Don't even
be in the moment.
Be in the moment. Don't even try to plan so much. Yeah. Yeah.
Because you got to understand, once you've tapped into the spiritual psychosis, you're aware of the spiritual world. But now you're stuck in it. Once you get back and focus on this reality, when certain things happen outside and you see certain things happen outside, you're going to automatically be like, oh, snap. Yes, that's physical, but that doesn't commonly happen. That's a spiritual sign. Boom. Now you just balance both things.
I like that. Hell yeah. So the next topic, in the spiritual community, there's a lot of like, you spoke about this too. There's a lot of like jealousy, competition, envy. I see it a lot with the males, you know what I'm saying? It's just so much ego with the spiritual priests, so much ego.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? You think it's because people get like all the spiritual powers and they're like, I'm the God, man. I'm invincible, you know what I'm saying? And I know you once said that we are not invincible. We can still die even if you are protected. It's just the probability gets lower when you're protected.
Yeah. A lot of people, they already had ego situations. A lot of priests, spiritual people, these people were raped when they was young. They was molested. They went through they saw their parents die. Craziness. They haven't even healed from that. All they did was ignore it and do things to counteract the pain and emotions they're feeling. So, boom, they step into the spiritual world. They get knowledge. They get power. They get access to certain things. Now, you know what I'm saying, they trying to curse everybody and go to war, go to this, go to that, because they want to operate on a certain frequency. And I'm not going to say they're wrong for doing that. That's their choice. Because you have the choice to focus on something more positive and blessed or better. But a lot of people just want to focus on, they want to entertain negativity and BS. And a lot, honestly, like, bro, like a lot of those people you're talking about, they deal with the spiritual world. So when they get mad at people, the things they're getting mad at people about a lot of times are just small, minute things. They're not even like big things that they want to go to war spiritually about or argue about.
Just small things.
A lot of times it'd be some small, it's not even that big.
Like he say, she say, yeah.
He say, she say, just nonsense. It's really not that big.
Yeah.
Or even, like he say, she say, or just like, they'll get mad over the littlest things.
Yeah.
You know?
I think they're just insecure. You know?
Insecurity. It's a lot of it's a mix of ego,
Yeah.
stupidity, and
Yeah.
choices. It's really choices.
I know in the spiritual community, it's like it's like you
Like
people go inward more. People go inward more. It doesn't mean that spirituality isn't just about being love and light.
you said,
It's
people
just,
go inward more.
yeah. So they say when you become spiritual, it's not that you become love and light. You just go inside yourself instead of outside yourself more. So if people go inside themselves more and they got demons, it's just extra demons they gotta see. I mean, and I guess sometimes they embrace that demon.
Yeah,
It's
it's
higher
definitely
awareness.
it's embracing it, but it's really a decision. Even the embrace, it's a decision.
Yeah,
Everyone got a decision on what they're gonna embrace and accept and entertain.
yeah,
You know, like I even had a situation with someone, and certain talks and things had to be had where we had to stop that, you know, and not entertain negativity. So because of certain politics, and honestly, when we spoke about it, you know, the root of what went down was really small. Certain calls had to be made behind the scenes. Certain people had to say, "Oh, my bad," this, then, the third. You know, that's all it is.
yeah. Just communication is the drive of a lot of things. Yeah. Though I heard one thing. I learned this from a teacher a while ago. She had said that, like a promiscuous woman, if she sleeps around a lot and she keeps doing Yoni steams, every time she does a Yoni steam, the Yoni steam becomes more counteractive because she's saying that the womb is receptive. So, do you believe that the Yoni steams get weaker the more she does it? Because she's like, okay, I'm just gonna Yoni steam out there, see what it's doing. You know, and she said that it gets counteractive. Starts to get weaker because your spiritual authority gets weaker when you keep doing something, but you keep countering it.
That's more of a mental thing.
Okay,
When you do a Yoni steam, what are you using?
these are some herbs.
Okay, when
Yeah.
you steam herbs into your skin, each herb has property to do things on the physical end of your body, the physical side of yourself.
Yeah,
So when you do a Yoni steam, there's Yoni steams that are douches to pull filth out of your vagina,
yeah,
and that they could even knock on your period and make you bleed ridiculously to get all the filth out. Now your periods are light. Certain Yoni steams are to tighten it. Certain Yoni, they're for different things. So to say that the Yoni steam does that, I think that they have a misunderstanding of the purpose of a Yoni steam. That's more of a health thing. A lot of people like that. I don't know that person, and I'll have to speak with that person more about what, so I could get a first-hand view of what they're talking about.
yeah,
But when you Yoni steam your skin, a woman Yoni steams her vagina, that's for their health, bro.
yeah. But I heard it's spiritual though. You can spiritually cleanse the soul ties.
No.
Not no soul tie cuts.
No. You can. I mean, there's certain things you can try to do to do that, but that's mainly physical.
Okay.
Because it's going into your blood. I mean, it's going into your bloodstream to cleanse you.
Okay. But you wouldn't look at it like a spiritual bath, like how it's like, you know, because it's basically when you take
when you take a spiritual bath, right? The spiritual bath is not going to affect your health that much because it's not going into your bloodstream.
No, it is. The herbs of the bath.
It's not directly going deeply into your bloodstream. It's going into your pores.
Okay, your pores. Okay. I see. Oh, so you're saying the yoni,
like for
inside.
example,
Okay, yeah.
If you put, for example, you put ashwagandha right here.
Yeah.
Are you gonna get a bunch of energy? Or you put it right here on are you gonna get mad energy from this?
Nah.
If you put it under your tongue, are you gonna get mad energy from that?
You're gonna get the benefits of it, yeah.
You know, eventually, technically, yes, it'll go into your bloodstream through your pores eventually over time. But Yoni steams are mainly for cleansing the vagina.
Okay. Okay, I see.
I'm gonna be honest, or tightening it.
Okay.
But to say you're using a Yoni steam to break soul ties, that's more of, you need to be, that's spiritual.
Yeah.
You need to call certain entities and certain things to do that.
Yeah. So mentally, do you feel like somebody can get over an ex that they can't get over, or they have to do a spiritual practice for it?
You said, so.
Well, like mentally, do you feel like somebody has to spiritually do something to get over an ex, or
No.
Okay.
When it comes to honestly, bro, you can break soul ties through your mind, bro. You You can break soul ties through once your mind is at a certain level, you can break
Just mental.
a lot of stuff,
it's
bro.
Just mental, yeah.
I'm gonna just be honest.
Yeah, it's the mind, the mystic side.
You could break a lot of soul ties through your mind, bro.
Yeah, I heard some people could just visualize cutting the soul tie and just.
A woman is better off breaking soul ties through cleansing her blood using chlorophyll. What is a soul tie for a woman? It's a man's DNA that stuck himself inside of her. That's where the soul tie begins.
The blood.
In the blood. In the DNA. You see what I'm saying? Because I think what a man's DNA stays in a woman for how many years?
They say 7 years, but they say it just depends on the situation, depends on everything, but usually 7 years. Now there's articles that claim that it's a lifetime, but a lot of articles counteract that. They say that our body goes through so much cleansing.
The thing is, a lot of that stuff, the scientists, they're talking about metaphysics, bro. Metaphysics, you can't really prove to a certain extent.
Yeah.
You can't prove metaphysics. A lot of it's just estimates. Let's be real, bro.
Yeah.
Same thing with carbon dating. You can't prove that.
What is that?
Carbon dating, like when they'll take a tree and be like this many rings or this bone based on this many.
It's this years old.
That's an estimate.
It's an estimate.
It's not facts.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, yeah, I feel like a woman. I don't know. I feel like honestly, it might hold.
She's better off cleansing her blood through chlorophyll.
Yeah.
And putting the.
You got cat's claw too. Will help the DNA. I heard cat's claw helps the repair your DNA. That's what Lifeway told me. And you got like black guanos. I'm good for soul ties. Yeah.
Yeah. She better off cleansing her blood, bro.
Yeah.
Honestly, homie.
Yeah. For a man, what should he do? Same thing.
A man need to mentally stop falling in love with the idea of a person, and even a woman too. Stop falling in love with the idea of a person. Fall in love with, or not even fall in love with, but accept what it is, what you've been shown. Accept that, because that's the truth.
So stop wearing those big rose-colored glasses and just see
a lot of things
who
with,
they is. Yeah,
a lot of stuff with love, and it's a lot of that stuff is mental, bro. Even with the way people perceive and understand love, it's just mental.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
Yeah, mentally break it. Yeah. Yep. So let's get into some of these celebrities, man. Let me see if there's anything else you want to go over before we go in there. Let me see. Because of Cardi B, what's going on with Cardi B? What's going on with Cardi B?
Yo, man, why she leave Offset, man? Nah, I'm playing. No, that's just more so. But when you say what's going on with Cardi B, what do you mean? Like
with Cardi B, with her Richie situation with Offset, you feel like she's in the right, or you feel like with use spiritual discernment, what's going on with her?
On the outside looking in, on the outside looking in, honestly, what I get from that is she's fed up. That's what I get from that. But at the same time, it's a wild situation, because I would never be in a relationship, not with a chick like that. For me.
Yeah.
But
how do you?
I say it from the outside looking in. Yeah. I would say she is foul because it's like, sheesh, you messing with someone this person was cool with.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't know exactly what if he messed with someone she was cool with. Yeah. I don't fully know the situation.
Right.
I know Cardi B's a real spiritual person, and Offset, they both practice spiritual practices.
Yeah.
Offset, he practices E5. Cardi B, she's known to practice Santeria.
Yeah.
And 21 divisions. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you know when a woman's right for a man?
When a woman is right for a man, what type of man is it? What are we talking about? What is it? What's the term? The alpha man? What's the beta man?
The average man.
The average man?
Yeah.
the average man is messed up financially out here. So 50-50.
Okay. But how do you
But for a man who get to it and what they call the alpha man, he need to pay 100%. But the chick, she need to be moving off of his timing. She need to move off him. He can't. If he allows her to, like, if he starts to move on her time, if he starts to put her at a certain pedestal, the truth is she's gonna end up embarrassing him, disrespecting him, making him look like a fool. That's when you get situations like Will Smith and Jada Pinkett. You feel me? Foolery.
Yeah.
You gotta mess. For a man who's getting to it, the truth is you gotta mess with a girl that is moving on your time.
You mean
but when you say the woman,
when you say your time, what do you mean though?
She's moving on your time.
Like she's not trying to control. She's not trying to control.
You're not moving on her schedule.
Yeah.
Because if you're gonna pay everything and do everything for her, she need to move on your schedule.
Right. What if it's 50-50?
But that's for normal people. With
right.
people that make money and stuff, a man who get money, he need to pay everything for the girl.
Right. Well, I say most viewers watching this, they're gonna be 50-50. So I'm talking about for the people who are 50-50, what advice would you give to them?
Try to find a balance with each other.
Yeah.
Try not to argue over the little things. Because you arguing 9 times out of 10 about small things because you live in normal.
Right.
That's the truth. When you get real money, you don't have time to even argue about something small.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Right. Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Also, for men too, mess with a woman that is in your. It's good to mess with a woman that's in your tax bracket, unless you're trying to get money out of her.
Yeah.
That can fit within your how much money you make.
Yeah, your capital. Yeah.
Feel me? Because there's certain girls that's already rich. She already was getting mad bread before you.
Yeah.
You making six figures, or you making specifically $1 million. She been made $1 million.
Yeah.
You feel me? Unless she not making money right now, but if she been made that type of money and still gets mad bread, like you gotta see, like you gotta. You're going to be spending all your money unless you 20 million, 10 million, some crazy bread. You feel me? That's all that is.
Yeah. Some deep stuff, man. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so with the Diddy trial, you think Diddy's going to be good with his trial? What you think?
Diddy trial?
Yeah. You think he's gonna be good, or you think this is it?
Man. I'm gonna tell you this. If you notice, a lot of people. First of all, man, it's very tricky. He's a high caliber person. He has a lot of money and power. Even though it seems like everything's falling on him, he has a lot of money and power. The thing with him in the Cassie case, and even his case in general, a lot of people added a lot of extra stuff to it. The media added a lot of extra stuff that's not true. They added a bunch of child that's not even in the case. If you read the case, none of that extra. He was hitting Cassie and doing some crazy stuff, and some weird sexual stuff, but it wasn't messing with children and child trafficking and
they just added stuff.
There wasn't even him having sex with another man in his case. That's it's not in the case. But for Diddy's situation, there's a lot of rumors that have been going around about him. But at the same time, he's a person with a lot of money and a lot of ties to higher societies. How I view it is that they needed to overly hype up and boost the Diddy situation so certain people can get off the hook. Because there's certain higher ups that are doing a lot of crazier things than that person, than Diddy. Now, what I think is going to go down with the Diddy situation is, I'm not predicting that right now. I would have to read on it to really predict it and speak on it. But from what I view as the variables, like, for example, there's a high possibility that through his, connections, things behind the scenes are going to be paid off. spiritual things are going to be done to get him off the hook in some type of way. You know, once you get to that level of finances, people think like these people are just doing voodoo for everything. People like that, there's lawyers, bro, that you pay them a certain amount of millions, they gonna go behind the scenes to the judge. All right, look, we got $3 million on the table. You take 1.5 million and let him off the hook. I get my 1.5. We go home. Look at OJ's case. Look at Rob Kardashian. He was known for going behind the scenes paying the judge. That's why if you look at Rob Kardashian's cases, he never like put up a crazy fight. He always went in the courtroom, did something basic. Like he never did nothing extra. Then at the end of the case, OJ gets off the hook.
So they paying the judges.
Once you get to that level of finances, they pay people behind the scenes. They do magic too, but
the DA,
they mainly pay people.
The DA and the judge and the lawyer, they all be having lunch together.
They all have lunch together.
They all chill.
Exactly. Not only that, the record labels, they're owned by the feds. Everyone knows this.
Then no jumper, all them.